Don't start drama. He's just touchy when he's drunk, she said about the guy with his hand on her thigh. No drama, I agreed. Finished my drink. Left the bar. She called an hour later. Where did you go? I said home. To pack your stuff? Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I think the worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was the sheer, unadulterated disrespect. It was the way she looked at me when she did it. Like I was a nuisance interrupting her fun, rather than the man who paid her rent. Let's get the context out of the way. I'm 29, Elena is 27. We'd been together for 3 years. Living together for 2. On paper, we were the power couple our friends envied. In reality, I was the power, and she was the passenger. I work in logistics management. It's not sexy. I don't have cool stories about rooftop parties or VIP sections. I wake up at 5 a.m., I manage supply chains, I solve expensive problems, and I come home. But that boring job paid for the apartment in the city center that Elena loved to post on Instagram. It paid for her student loan installments when her marketing gigs dried up. It paid for the lifestyle she felt entitled to. Elena was magnetic. That's the word. She was the kind of girl who needed the temperature of the room to change when she walked in. In the beginning, that light was directed at me. It felt good. But over the last 6 months, the light had shifted. She started needing validation from strangers to feel alive. It started small. A little too much flirty banter with the waiter. Staying out until 2 a.m. with work friends I'd never met. Hiding her phone screen when I walked into the room. Whenever I brought it up, I got hit with the classic gaslighting script. You're so insecure. It's embarrassing. Why are you trying to control me? They're just friends. God, you're such an old man sometimes. Let me live. I swallowed it. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself that a beautiful woman naturally attracts attention, and I needed to be the cool, confident boyfriend who didn't let it faze him. That was my mistake. I confused being a doormat with being secure. The shift happened when she met the group. It was a mix of people from her new PR firm and some random hangers-on. Suddenly, our quiet Friday nights were gone. She wanted to be at the loudest bars, the messiest clubs, the places where people went to be seen, not to talk. That Friday, she told me we were going out with them. It wasn't a request. You have to come, she said, applying a shade of lipstick that was a little too red for a casual hang. Everyone thinks you're imaginary. Plus, Mark keeps asking about you. Who's Mark? I asked. She paused, just for a microsecond. He's just this funny guy from accounting. He's basically the group dad. You'll love him. I looked at her. She was wearing a dress she hadn't worn since our anniversary dinner. It was backless, short, and screamed, "Look at me." She caught me staring. What? She snapped, defensive before I even spoke. Is this too much? I can go change into sweatpants if that makes you feel safer. You look great, I said quietly. Let's go. I had a pit in my stomach the size of a bowling ball. I should have listened to it. The bar was one of those industrial chic places, exposed brick, Edison bulbs, and music so loud you had to scream to introduce yourself. We found the group at a large booth in the back. There were about 8 of them. And then there was Mark. He wasn't the group dad. He was a loud, sweaty, frat boy that never grew up type in a shirt that was 2 sizes too tight. He was the loudest person at the table, holding court, doing shots, and making sure everyone knew he was the alpha of this little kingdom. When we arrived, Elena didn't introduce me. She just slid into the booth. And, crucially, she didn't slide in next to an empty spot. She slid in right next to Mark. I was left to grab a stool from a nearby table and sit on the edge of the conversation, basically in the aisle. So this is the mystery man, Mark shouted, spraying a little bit of spit. He looked me up and down, his eyes glazed over. He didn't offer a hand to shake. He just smirked. Elena said you were the serious type. You look like you do taxes. The table laughed. Elena laughed the hardest. He's in logistics, Elena said, touching Mark's arm lightly. He keeps the world moving. Sounds thrilling, Mark deadpanned. I just nodded and ordered a bourbon. I decided to play the role. The stoic. The protector. I watched them interact. It was nauseating. Mark wasn't just friendly. He was possessive. He kept leaning into her space, whispering things in her ear that made her giggle and swat him away playfully. About an hour in, I got up to go to the bathroom. When I walked away, I looked back. Elena was already leaning in to show Mark something on her phone. Their heads were touching. I took my time in the restroom. I splashed cold water on my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. Get it together, I told myself. Don't be the jealous guy. Trust her. I walked back to the table. Because of the angle of the booth and the crowd, they didn't see me approach. I came up from behind the booth to squeeze back into my stool. That's when I saw it. Mark was manspreading, taking up half the bench. And his left hand wasn't on the table. It wasn't on his own leg. It was on Elena's thigh, not her knee, not an accidental brush. His hand was high up on her thigh, his thumb rubbing back and forth against the fabric of her dress, dangerously close to the hem. And Elena? She wasn't pushing it away. She wasn't shifting uncomfortably. She was leaning back, drink in hand, listening to him talk, completely accepting his claim on her body. The noise of the bar seemed to drop out. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. The disrespect was so loud it was physical. It felt like a slap. I stepped forward and tapped Elena on the shoulder. She jumped, turning around. When she saw it was me, her face didn't register guilt. It registered annoyance. I pointed at Mark's hand. I didn't yell. My voice was deadly calm. Elena, tell him to get his hand off you. Mark looked up, bleary-eyed and smirking. He didn't move his hand. He actually squeezed her leg, like he was testing the merchandise. Whoa, settle down, Chief. We're just talking. I ignored him. I looked at the woman I paid rent for. The woman I planned a future with. Elena, I said again. Move his hand. Now. She rolled her eyes. She actually rolled her eyes at me. She let out a sharp, exasperated huff, like I was the toddler throwing a tantrum in a supermarket. Oh my God, she groaned, loud enough for the whole table to hear. Stop. Don't start drama. He's just touchy when he's drunk. It doesn't mean anything. She looked around at her friends for support. He gets so jealous, guys. It's exhausting. Mark laughed. Relax, bro. No drama here. I looked at Mark's hand, still resting on her thigh. Then I looked at Elena's face. She looked defiant. Smug. She thought she had the power. She thought I would sit down, shut up, and sulk in the corner like I always did because I was afraid to lose her. She thought I was trapped. But in that moment, something snapped. It wasn't a break, it was a release. The anxiety, the jealousy, the fear of losing her, it all evaporated. You can't lose something you never really had. And I realized, looking at her defending another man's right to grope her, that I didn't want this anymore. The love didn't turn to hate. It turned to nothing. It turned to dust. I looked at her, dead in the eyes. You're right, I said. My voice was steady. No drama. Elena's expression softened slightly, thinking she'd won. She smiled, a condescending little tilt of her lips. Exactly. Just sit down and have a drink. I'm good, I said. I picked up my bourbon from the table. I drank the rest of it in one smooth swallow. I set the glass down with a deliberate clink. Then, I reached into my wallet. I pulled out $100 bill, enough to cover my drink and her tab. I slapped it on the table in front of Mark. Have a good night, I said. I turned around and walked toward the exit. Wait, are you going to the bathroom again? Elena called out, confused. I didn't answer. I didn't look back. I walked through the crowd, out the heavy door, and into the cool night air. I didn't feel angry. I felt surgical. I walked to my car, got in, and checked the time. It was 11:15 p.m. I figured I had about an hour before she realized I wasn't coming back. That gave me exactly 60 minutes to pack her entire life into garbage bags. I started the engine. The drive home was the quietest 30 minutes of my life. Usually, my mind races after an argument. I replay the words. I think of better comebacks. I worry about how to fix it. Tonight? Silence. My brain was calm. It was the calm of a man who has just signed off on a project that was bleeding money. The project was canceled. The bleeding had stopped. I walked into our apartment. It smelled like her perfume and the vanilla candles she insisted we burn. For a second, the ghost of our life together tried to grab me. The blanket on the couch where we watched movies, the mug she left on the coffee table. I pushed it aside. I entered what I call logistics mode. In my line of work, when a supply chain breaks, you don't cry about the spilled cargo. You clear the blockage, you reroute, and you secure the asset. I went to the closet. I grabbed the large suitcases, the ones I bought for our trip to Italy last year. I opened them on the bed. I didn't throw her clothes. I didn't cut them up. I wasn't crazy. That's what she would do. I folded them. I packed her dresses, her jeans, her endless collection of shoes. I went into the bathroom and swept her skincare, her makeup, and her hair tools into a large duffel bag. I worked with terrifying efficiency. Bedroom, cleared. Bathroom, cleared. Living room, her books, her knickknacks, her chargers. Boxed. It took me exactly 45 minutes to pack 2 years of her life into 3 suitcases, 2 duffel bags, and a cardboard box. I dragged everything out into the hallway of our building. We lived on the 3rd floor. I stacked her life neatly against the wall next to the elevator. Then I went back inside. I took my key off the ring. I grabbed the spare key she kept in the kitchen drawer. I went to the front door and engaged the deadbolt, the one you can't open from the outside with a key, only from the inside. I sat down on the couch, opened a beer, and waited. My phone lit up at 12:20 a.m. Elena calling. I let it ring. Elena calling. I let it ring again. Then came the texts. Where the hell did you go? You seriously left me here? You're such a child. Pick up the phone. Everyone is laughing at you. I took a sip of beer. The phone rang a 3rd time. I answered. Where the fuck are you? She screamed. The background noise was gone. She was outside the bar. I could hear the slur in her voice. She was drunker now. I'm at the apartment, I said. You left me, she shrieked. You literally abandoned me because you couldn't handle a joke. Mark had to buy me a drink because you ran away like a little bitch. I didn't run, I said calmly. I left. There's a difference. Well, get your ass back here and pick me up. Now. I'm freezing. No, I said. There was a pause on the line. She wasn't used to hearing that word. Excuse me. I'm not coming to pick you up, Elena. You made it very clear that Mark is the one who comforts you. He can drive you home. You are being so dramatic, she scoffed, though I heard a hint of panic. Fine. I'll get an Uber. But don't expect me to sleep in the same bed as you tonight. You're sleeping on the couch. I'm not sleeping on the couch, I corrected her. And you're not taking an Uber here. You don't live here anymore. What? A nervous laugh. What are you talking about? I went home to pack your stuff, I said. It's all in the hallway. The suitcases, the bags, the box with your chargers. It's outside the door. You packed my stuff? Yes. You wanted no drama, right? This is me removing the drama from my life. I'm done, Elena. You can't do that. Her voice cracked. You can't just kick me out. I'm on the lease. Actually, I said, you're not. I signed the renewal last month alone because your credit score was too low, remember? You're an occupant. And since you haven't paid rent in 3 months, I suggest you don't try to argue the legalities with me. I'm coming home, she hissed. And if you don't let me in, I'm calling the police. Call them, I said. I'll show them the text messages where you gaslight me and the bank statements showing who pays for everything. But Elena, I'm not opening the door. But where am I supposed to go? She cried, the anger finally turning into realization. I don't know, I said. Maybe Mark has room on his couch. He seemed very accommodating. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. She showed up at 3:15 a.m. I was awake. I was sitting in the dark, listening. First, the elevator dinged. Then, silence. She must have seen the bags. Then, the banging started. She pounded on the door. She screamed my name. She cried. She kicked the wood. Open the door. My charger is in there. I need my charger. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Open the door. I hate you. You're a psycho. It cycled like that for 20 minutes. Pleading, rage, bargaining, insults. It was a masterclass in manipulation, but the door was thick, and my resolve was thicker. Eventually, I heard a male voice, muffled. It sounded like Mark. Come on, babe. Forget him. Let's go. My shoes. She sobbed. We'll get them later. Let's go. I heard the elevator ding again. Then, silence. I slept for 10 hours. The next few weeks were a study in contrast. On her side, it was a hurricane. Since I had blocked her, I didn't see the posts directly, but mutual friends, the ones who actually had brains, sent me screenshots. She spun a narrative that would make a fiction writer blush. According to her Instagram stories, I was an abusive, controlling narcissist who threw her out on the street in the middle of the night for talking to a male coworker. She posted crying selfies. She posted quotes about surviving toxic love. I didn't respond. I didn't post a my side of the story video. I didn't text her friends to defend myself. I went gray rock. I became a ghost. I changed the locks the next day. I hired a cleaner to deep clean the apartment, erasing every trace of her hair and smell. I rearranged the furniture. And the peace? My God, the peace. I came home from work and the apartment was exactly how I left it. My bank account, which usually drained rapidly around the 15th of the month to cover her emergencies, started to grow. I started going to the gym again because I didn't have to rush home to manage her emotions. About 2 months in, I met up with a buddy, Dave, for beers. Dave was one of the few people who knew the full truth. So, Dave said, sliding his phone across the table, "Do you want the update? Or should I keep it to myself?" "Give it to me," I said. "It's bad, man. Like, train wreck bad." He showed me a photo from Facebook. It was Elena and Mark. They were Facebook official. Elena looked tired. Her hair was messy. The spark was dim. They were in a living room that looked like a frat house. Pizza boxes on the table, a tapestry on the wall instead of art. Mark lives with 2 roommates, Dave explained. He's 32. They party 4 nights a week. Elena lost her job at the PR firm because she kept showing up hungover. And the relationship? I asked. Toxic. They scream at each other in public. Apparently, Mark is, surprise, surprise, touchy with other girls, too. And since he's not the one paying her bills, she's stuck. She's crashing on a mattress on the floor of his room. I looked at the photo. I remembered the woman who used to spend an hour doing her makeup just to go to the grocery store. Now she looked worn out, sitting next to a guy who looked like a bloated thumb. "She asks about you," Dave said. "She asks if you're seeing anyone." "What do you tell her?" "I tell her you're doing great. I tell her you got promoted." I smiled. I had gotten promoted. It turns out, when you aren't spending 40% of your mental energy managing a partner's drama, you become very good at your job. "She's going to reach out," Dave warned. "Mark is broke, and she's realizing that fun doesn't pay for Sephora. She's running out of runway." "Let her run," I said. "I'm not the airport anymore." But Dave was right. The silence wasn't going to last forever. The crash was coming, and when the dust settled, she would come looking for the safety net she thought she had only temporarily unplugged. She didn't realize I had cut the cords. It took exactly 6 months for the collapse. I knew it was coming because the silence from her end suddenly stopped. I hadn't heard a peep since the smear campaign died down. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. I usually let those go to voicemail, but I was expecting a call from a contractor. "This is Will," I answered. "Will." The voice was small, shaky. "It was Elena. I didn't think you'd pick up," she said. "I didn't know it was you," I replied flatly. "What do you want?" I needed to hear your voice. Can we talk? Just for 5 minutes. Please. I'm not asking for anything. I just need clarity." I should have hung up. That's what the internet advice says to do. No contact. But in logistics, you don't ignore a distress signal until you know if it threatens your operations. I was curious. I wanted to see the damage report. "I'm leaving the gym in 20 minutes, I said. "I'm not meeting you for coffee. If you want to say something, you can say it in the parking lot." "Okay," she said immediately. "I'll be there." When I walked out to my car, I'd traded in my practical sedan for a sleek, charcoal gray coupe I'd wanted for years. She was leaning against the hood of a beat-up Honda Civic parked 2 spots over. The visual contrast was brutal. I looked healthier than I had in years. I'd put on muscle, my skin was clear, and I was wearing a fitted suit because I had a dinner meeting later. I looked like a man on an upward trajectory. Elena looked like a woman in freefall. She was thinner, but not in the fit way. She looked gaunt. Her roots were showing. Dark chaos creeping into the expensive blonde she used to maintain on my dime. She was wearing a hoodie that looked like it had been pulled out of a hamper. When she saw me, her eyes widened. She took a step forward, her hands twitching like she wanted to reach out for a hug, but knew better. "Wow," she breathed. "You look incredible." "You look tired," I said. I didn't say it with malice. It was just a fact. She let out a jagged laugh. "Yeah. It's been a rough couple of months. I heard about Mark." I lied. I hadn't heard anything specific, but I knew the archetype. She flinched. "Mark is a sociopath. You were right. About everything. He cheated on me. With the bartender at that same place. Can you believe that?" The irony was so thick I could taste it. "I can believe it," I said. "He showed you who he was the first night I met him. You just didn't want to look." "I know." She started crying. It was the ugly, desperate crying of someone who realizes they've burned their lifeboat to keep warm for 5 minutes. I was so stupid. Well, I got caught up in the attention. I thought. I don't know what I thought. But I miss you. I miss us. I miss my best friend. She took a step closer. I'm staying at my mom's place now. I left him. I'm done with that life. I'm ready to be serious again. I'm ready to be the woman you wanted. I looked at her, and I waited for a feeling. Any feeling. Anger? Pity? Love? There was nothing. It was like looking at a stranger. Actually, it was worse. It was like looking at a bad investment I had finally written off the books. You aren't ready to be serious, Elena, I said, unlocking my car. You're just broke. She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. That's not fair. I love you. Do you? I turned to face her, leaning against my door. Let's look at the facts. You didn't love me when you let another man grope you in front of my face. You didn't love me when you called me insecure for having boundaries. You didn't love me when you smeared my name to everyone we knew. I was angry, she pleaded. People make mistakes. Buying the wrong milk is a mistake, I said coldly. Humiliating your partner to boost your ego is a character flaw. And unlike a mistake, character flaws don't just go away because you ran out of money. I'm not here for money, she screamed, her face twisting. I want you. We had 3 years, Will. You can't just throw that away because of one bad night. It wasn't one night, I corrected her. That night was just the audit results coming in. The business had been failing for a long time. I just finally decided to close it down. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. So that's it. You're just going to be cold? You're going to punish me forever. I'm not punishing you, I said. Punishing you would require me to care enough to want to teach you a lesson. I don't want to teach you anything. I just want to go to dinner. I opened my car door. She lunged then. She grabbed my arm. Her grip was weak, desperate. Will, please. Just one drink. Let me explain. Let me fix it. I can be different. I swear. I looked down at her hand on my suit jacket. I didn't shake it off. I just stared at it until she felt the awkwardness and pulled it back herself. You told me that night, I said, my voice low, that I started too much drama. That I was embarrassing. I didn't mean it, she whispered. It doesn't matter if you meant it, I said. Because I agreed with you. Drama is inefficient. It's a waste of resources. And Elena, you are pure overhead. Her mouth dropped open. The tears stopped, replaced by shock. I have a life now that is peaceful, I continued. I wake up, and the house is quiet. I go to work, and I come home to peace. There is no shouting. There is no gaslighting. There are no drunk guys touching what is supposed to be mine. I have optimized my life, and there is no space in the inventory for you. You're an asshole, she spat, the mask finally slipping. Maybe, I said, getting into the driver's seat. But I'm a happy asshole. You'll never find anyone like me, she yelled as I started the engine. You're boring. You'll always be boring. I rolled down the window just halfway. You're right, I said. I am boring. That's why I have a savings account, a paid-off car, and a clean conscience. Good luck with Mark, Elena, or whoever comes next. Just make sure he pays the tab. I rolled the window up. As I pulled out of the lot, I checked the rearview mirror. She was standing there, alone in the vast gray parking lot, screaming at my taillights. She looked small. She looked irrelevant. I merged onto the highway and turned on the radio. The traffic was light. The logistics of the evening were perfect. I didn't look back. There was nothing behind me worth seeing. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.